What's going on, everybody? I am back to break down this 9-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Excited to get into it. Going to be giving you guys the top plays to get you some money. As always, get you in that green cash line tonight. If you enjoyed this content, would be greatly appreciated if you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. Like goal on this one is going to be 100 likes. And if you are getting very serious about MLB DFS, I would highly recommend my MLB DFS premium package. Patreon.com/KJK_DFS. You can get access to all the fun tools that I offer for my MLB package. I do offer a prize picks package as well. For the DraftKings FanDuel, you'll get access to my DraftKings FanDuel core plays, my cheat sheet, my top stacks, my data sheets, my StatCast data, splits leaderboard, team hitting data, bullpen data, and of course the Discord. So check that out if you're interested. If you do play prize picks and DraftKings FanDuel, I do offer a combo package for both MLB and NBA. We're going to get access to both of those at a discount. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Speaking of Prize Picks, they are the sponsor of this program. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, sign up over there today. Use that promo code KJK DFS to receive an instant match deposit up to $100 today. And don't forget to stay tuned at the end of the video for my home run call of the day. I haven't hit one of those yet this season, man. I don't think we've ever gotten off to a start this slow for our home run calls. Usually we're pretty good on those. So if you've been around for a while, you know we're going to get hot in summer months when things warm up and stuff too. It gets a little bit easier to be, hitting these home run calls. But I'm going to try to get one of those for you today. Of course, as always, it's always backed up by a lot of data. So figure out the top pitchers on the slate first, and then we'll head into batters the second half of the video. As always, I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by K-rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. And the top guy on the slate is going to be Yu Darvish, taking on the San Francisco Giants. He comes in with a 30.3% K overall, a 13% swinging strike rate, 34.8% K rate to righties, and a 26.2% K rate to lefties. So he is much more dominant against those right-hand hitters as far as strikeout rate's concerned. And we're looking at his matchup today. It's in San Francisco, which is one of the best pitching environments in baseball, so that's always going to be a great thing. Pulling up San Francisco as far as how Oracle Park plays, you can see lots of red going on. It is also very good pitching weather this time of year, 50 degrees. 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, but still not too concerned. This stadium's designed to kind of limit the impact that wind really does have on it. And Yu Darvish is a 107 in the Vegas odds right now, so he's actually not a favorite. All too heavy here, so that's the only downside, I would say. Looking at his pitch count, we're starting to kind of get a second look at some of these guys. Last time out, he went out there and threw 92 pitches, so that is kind of a big deal compared to some of these other guys that have been getting pulled, right around 70, 80 pitches. He had a pretty long leash, which is automatically going to make him a pretty decent candidate, but we do prefer to target him against right-handed heavy lineups, as I just stated, and the Giants are rolling out quite a few lefties. You have Yastrzemski, Brandon Belt, Jock Peterson, Brandon Crawford. As far as the strikeout rate that those lefties supply, though, they do all strike out at a pretty high clip here. So, Yu Darvish, I think, is going to be a pretty interesting option on the slate tonight. Top pay-up option, I would say, right off the bat, just strictly based on K upside. I mean, he tops the K rate on the slate by a pretty sizable margin at 30+% clip. No one else is even really close to that, so Yu Darvish is going to be the top upside guy. Looking at his price tag on both websites. DraftKings, they got him priced up to 10-1. FanDuel, they've got him priced up to 9-7. So, next guy on the slate we're going to talk about is Andrew Heaney taking on the Minnesota Twins. He comes in with a 27.1% K rate overall, 13% swinging strike rate, 27.8% K rate to righties, and 25.2% K rate to lefties. Andrew Heaney is a high strikeout, hard contact guy, so he can get blown up, but he can supply you with a lot of strikeouts and a lot of upside. And when looking at the Vegas lines right now in Minnesota, it's a 9.5 over-under as far as the run total in this one. He's a 142 favorite. It is 51 degrees with 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing in Minnesota, which is a pretty great pitching environment, so that's a positive. Looks like we do have some weather we have to keep an eye out for, so keep your eyes on that. If you don't follow me over on Twitter, follow me over on Twitter at KJK_DFS. I always tweet out stuff like regarding weather and updates. Like Mike Trout was scratched last night. You'll see me retweeting from other accounts and stuff when I see news as much as possible to help you guys out. But Andrew Heaney, yeah, taking on the Minnesota Twins, who do have a pretty sizable strikeout rate up and down their lineup. They also do have quite a bit of power, though, so it's going to be a little bit scary. But I do think he's a high upside, high risk, high reward type of option, looking at his price tag on both websites. Over on FanDuel, they got him priced at 7.5. On DraftKings, he's up to 8.8. So you get a nice discount on him over on FanDuel. And, of course, he's going to get a lot of run support being on the LA Dodgers, so that's never a bad thing. You want to go with Andrew Heaney tonight. Chris Archer taking on the LA Dodgers, the next guy on the slate in K rate. I just really don't want to target the Dodgers, to be quite frank. They were a very good team. They really don't strike out much. They're loaded up and down the lineup. what more can I say? I mean, it's just not going to be fun anytime you face the Dodgers for me. It's going to take a special talent to really want to target the Dodgers, and even if there is a special talent, I'm not sure if that's going to suffice. I mean, they're just that good. Luis Garcia taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks has a 25.8% K rate overall, a 13.2% swinging strike rate. That's second on the slate. 28.7% K rate to righties and a 22.9% K rate to lefties. Is very good against righties, is not so good against lefties. That's pretty simple to break him down. He's taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. He is a 154 favorite. The Diamondbacks do have quite a few lefties up and down their lineup. You can see they're only rolling out one righty in their lineup. The rest are all either switch or left-handed hitters. So that's a bit concerning for me when you're breaking down his stuff and how he fares against, both sides of the plate. So for me, it's a little bit scary, but the Arizona Diamondbacks do have a lot of strikeouts, especially towards the bottom of that order. So I think he's somewhat interesting in your tournament lineups tonight. The pitching just doesn't seem to be the greatest on the slate from a first look as we're going along here, but we're going to get into some better matchups, I think. Nestor Cortes taking on Toronto is a very good pitcher for the New York Yankees. For the most part, he's been very solid, but he has a serious ground ball, fly ball issue. And he only has a 25% carry to righties, whereas lefties, it goes up to 25.4. 433 slugging given up to those righties, and a 528 slugging given up to lefties. So, I mean, I don't really think I want to be going to Nestor Cortes against the Toronto Blue Jays, to be honest with you. They do only have a 4.58 implied total. These are statistics going back to 2019 because I want to get a more sizable data point, and Cortes did have a bit of a better year last year, but a little bit scary once again. Toronto Blue Jays, similar to the LA Dodgers we talked about, they're really good up and down. They really don't strike out that much for having the amount of power that they have, and I don't know, I don't really feel comfortable targeting them. Patrick Sandoval taking on the Miami Marlins, I think, is the next guy we're going to be looking to. He has really good ground ball, fly ball stuff. He has the top swinging strike rate on the slate with a 14.2 swinging strike rate, 24.5% K rate overall, 24.1% K rate to righties, and a 25.4% K rate to lefties. Taking on a Miami Marlins squad tonight. I do think he's going to really stand out here. He's a 164 favorite. They only have a 3.98 implied run total. Looks like there's 19-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center or right fielder, so that's a little bit less than ideal. But, I mean, most typically when you're facing a lefty, that's going to be the right-handed pull hitters that kill you down the left field line, so that's a positive. I'd feel a lot worse about it if he was a right-handed pitcher. And he does, in this Miami Marlins lineup, is not really one that scares us too much. And they do supply you with plenty of strikeouts. So I do think that Patrick Sandoval is actually grading out as one of the top options on the slate for me, just from a first look aspect. He's priced very reasonably. He's got really good ground ball, fly ball stuff. He's got really good swinging strike rate stuff. So, I mean, that just makes sense to me. You have Jesus Luzardo in the same game. He kind of is the same story. For the most part, it's just he gives up a lot more slugging and a lot more fly balls to right-handed hitters. So, but once again, the LA Angels do have quite a bit of strikeouts in their lineup up and down. So I think both these guys are going to be pretty intriguing options in your tournament lineups for me in the pitching. Corbin taking on Atlanta. They have just been letting us down. I was all in on Atlanta last night, taking on Rogers, who's terrible. I had Ozzie Albies as my home run call of the day. They really just haven't been performing all that great to start the season. So typically I'm not really one to ride high or ride low on hot and cold streaks, but it's a little concerning when you see a guy like Rogers dominate a lineup like the Atlanta Braves. It might be a little bit cold. He's a 40 slugging into the righties, does Corbin. He's much better against lefties, so you really want to target the right-handed power against him. And as far as pitching him against the Atlanta Braves, just because they've been struggling, I mean, I still don't really like it too much. They don't really have the highest strikeout rates against lefties outside of the middle of the order and guys like Riley, Ozuna, and Duvall, but those guys have a lot of power too. Corbin, I do think, is viable, but it's a little bit scary. You have Touki Toussaint in the same game. He's really good against righties, really bad against lefties. So looking at the lineup up and down as far as what the Nationals are rolling out, they do have a lot of righties at the bottom of the order, so maybe he's somewhat interesting. He's a 164 favorite. Max Fried's listed as the probable starting pitcher on this starting lineups page, and DraftKings has Touki Toussaint. I always lean towards who DraftKings has as the probable starter, just because traditionally they are very good at predicting who's going to be next up in the rotation. So just keep in mind, I do record these videos earlier, so if something changes, I mean, for my premium content members, I'll have those sheets updated, but I'm always going to assume that DraftKings is right. It's treated me good in the past, and I'm expecting it to be Toussaint tonight. Eric Lauer taking on Baltimore is really not going to be a fun guy for me to be targeting. pitching in my lineups. I don't really think anyone else from here on out is going to be someone we're really looking to pitch too much, man. I mean, you have Alex Cobb in San Francisco against San Diego. He's somewhat interesting, I guess, because he does a good job of keeping the ball on the ground. But outside of that, things get pretty ugly pretty quick here. Dakota Hudson's taking on the Kansas City Royals. He's priced way up on DraftKings, I believe. And FanDuel, he's 9.5. DraftKings, he's priced way down. FanDuel, he's priced way up. So DraftKings, you get a nice sizable discount on him. But I kind of think we already talked about a lot of the guys we're going to be looking to target from a first look aspect here. Dakota Hudson is in St. Louis, which is a pretty good pitching environment there. Texas guys are definitely a no for me. Cortez, I don't really want to have interest in. Miami game, I think, is somewhat interesting for pitching options. And the Baltimore game, I mean, the Baltimore game, Eric Lauer does get a very easy opponent taking on the Baltimore Orioles, so I guess you could factor that in. The interesting thing about Baltimore, I don't know if a lot of people know, is it's traditionally a very good hitter's ballpark. It still is, I would say, but they did push the left field fence back like 23 feet and raised it up like 4 feet or something like that. I don't know. I forget that. I had the dynamics pulled up in an article that I was looking into, but if you've been playing MLB DFS or you're just familiar with ballparks in general, you know Oriole Park at Camden Yards has been one of the top home run ballparks in the league for quite some time. Still think it's going to play pretty friendly, but you kind of got to get into it a little bit more out there to left center now. They kind of stepped their game up and down the left field line. So it'll be interesting to see kind of as the data collects if the home run to right-handed batters isn't quite as friendly. For now, I'm not going to overreact to it too much. I still think it's a pretty good hitter's ballpark. I just have to keep in mind, maybe those weaker hitters that don't quite have the ability to hit the ball 400 plus feet aren't quite as likely to do so. Aren't as quite as likely to hit a ball out of Camden Yards this year. So, all right, guys, let's switch over to bats as always. I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by Sierra skill and active ERA. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far over the last couple years, how good is he expected to be in the future. And the worst guy on the slate is in that Baltimore game. It's Alex Wells taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. He is terrible across the board. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is terrible. He doesn't strike anyone out. He gives up a 5.58 slugging to righties and a 4.17 slugging to lefties. A lot of hard contact, no strikeouts. He's much better against lefties. He is a left-handed hurler himself, so it doesn't make sense. Once again, this starting lineup page has Spencer Watkins. I am going with the DraftKings starting pitching because they tend to be right. So when we get the confirmation, I will update these sheets. But right now, I'm going to talk about it as if it is Wells pitching. That's going to make me like all the power righties. So Willie Adames, Andrew McCutchen, Hunter Renfroe would look really, really good here. Lorenzo Cain. You have the lefties throughout the lineup. We might see maybe even more righties in there if there is indeed the lefty ruled in for the Brewers. So just keep your eye on their lineup. But all the power righties are going to be really good plays. 71 degrees, pretty good hitting weather for this time of year. Definitely a guy I want to be targeting. Daniel Lynch taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Same story can be said to him. Really doesn't strike many people out. Lots of hard contact. He gives up a 500 slugging to righties. Lefties, he's dominant. He's really, really good against those lefties. Over 9 innings pitch sample size. But righties, he's giving up a lot of hard contact, a lot of fly balls. And the St. Louis Cardinals have some guys that are very good against left-handed pitching. So that's always going to be interesting. It does look like there's 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left, too. So if that's the case, that's going to make these guys pretty appealing, man. Dylan Carlson, Paul Goldschmidt, Tyler O'Neill, Nolan Arenado, Albert Pujols, Paul DeJong, Yadier Molina, Harrison Bader, Tommy Edman. This whole lineup is designed to match left-handed pitching. Legitimately have interest in 1 through 9. It's really that simple when it comes to them. So Chad Kuhl taking on Texas. He's a guy we've been liking to target for years in DFS. Isn't the best against as far as keeping the ball on the ground. Gives up a lot of hard contact. He gives up a 410 slugging to righties, but against lefties is where it gets really fun because he is terrible against lefties with a 443 slugging, giving up 37% hard contact rate, a 38% fly ball rate. Chad Kuhl and lefties has been a thing for a long time. Texas, overall, I'm just going to love their offense tonight. They have a 5.79 implied run total. They're in Texas, which is one of the best hitting environments in baseball. In Globe Life, and they've been opening the roof when it's warm weather there as well. So that's a possibility. Once again, something you can keep your eyes on my Twitter feed for. If I get notification of that, I'll retweet it and stuff. But yeah, you can see green across the board. Really good stuff here. So I do like targeting Globe Life Field, and I'm going to like the Texas Rangers a lot tonight, especially the lefties. Brad Miller, Corey Seager, Nate Lowe, Cole Calhoun, Willie Calhoun, and then mixing in with those elite hitters in Marcus Semien, Mitch Garver in the catcher spot, Adolis Garcia, a lot of power from the right-hand side of the plate. This lineup looks real good, especially against Chad Kuhl, and I'm not worried about the Colorado Rockies bullpen either. They were terrible last year. I don't think they made much of improvements. Obviously, we're still collecting bullpen data for this year, but Texas is going to be looking good. Dakota Hudson taking on Kansas City. Really does a good job of keeping the ball on the ground. Good ground ball, fly ball stuff, even though he has a bad Sierra. So for me, I really don't want to be targeting him too much. That's going to be a no for me. Martin Perez taking on Colorado in that same game environment we just talked about is a guy you want to target with right-handed power. Good against lefties, not so good against righties with a 478 slug giving up. Ground ball, fly ball stuff isn't the worst in the world, but still, just those right-handed power bats that can match left-handed pitching. Especially like the heart of the order. Rogers, CJ Cron, Chris Bryant, Randall Grichuk crushes lefties, Elias Diaz crushes lefties, Iglesias more of a contact hitter, Connor Joe in the top more of a contact hitter, but still just hitting from the right-handed side of the plate in general. And then you can mix in the lefties to be contrarian and round out your stacks. Charlie Blackmon, Ryan McMahon. Obviously, if they get Martin Perez out of the game early, they're going to get to that Rangers bullpen. You're going to face some right-handed pitching. Chucky G. Saint taking on the Washington Nationals. Talked about him, but he's terrible against lefties. Just absolutely dried full of 562 slugging, giving up 39.7% hard contact rate, a 408 WOBA, 38.8% fly ball rate, 14.5% walk rate. Is the only bad thing. Like, we prefer for him to not walk our hitters, honestly, in TFS. Like, we want him to be, challenging them and getting those home runs. So, but I mean, this is just an absolute smash spot for left-handed hitters. So, Juan Soto, Cesar Hernandez, Josh Bell, Keeper Ruiz. Going to look really good. Those righties don't look quite as friendly against Tukey. But you can round out your stacks with them. I mean, a guy like a Nelson Cruz, obviously elite hitter, middle of that lineup, you probably want to include him in your stacks, most likely. If you could fit him in, I wouldn't talk you off it. Yusei Kikuchi taking on the New York Yankees. Made some improvements last year in Seattle, but has traditionally given up a lot of hard contact to righties. The ground ball, fly ball stuff doesn't look as bad as it did when he first came in the league, but he still does give up a 500 slugging to those righties. A 381 slugging to lefties is a lot better against righties, but the Yankees' power righty bats do look like they're in a pretty good spot tonight. Josh Donaldson, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Didi LeMahieu, not as much power, but hits from the right-hand side of the plate. Gleyber Torres, Aaron Hicks is a switch hitter. And Kyle Higashioka had that hot spring training. Looks really good at the plate, so rounding him out against those lefties is always not a bad idea. In my book, they do have a 4.92 implied total. It's in Yankee Stadium, which is a great home run ballpark, 67 degrees. It does look like there's 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out the straightaway center. Not the strongest of winds, but that never hurts. Maybe to push the ball a couple extra feet for a home run for you in Yankee Stadium tonight. So I like those power righties on the Yankees. Eric Lauer taking on Baltimore. We talked about him, but same thing, really. I mean, he gets a pretty much hard contact slugging and everything to everything. Baltimore doesn't have the strongest lineup, but I would be willing to target him. Cedric Mills, Ryan Mountcastle, Trey Mancini, Austin Hayes, Anthony Santander. I mean, the 2 through 4 spots really do rake left-handed pitching. Mancini, Austin Hayes, they have a lot of power there. Ramon Urios, Jorge Mateo, Robinson Chirinos. It's a lineup that's pretty well designed to hit left-handed pitching, so I don't hate the Orioles stack today. Madison Bumgarner taking on Houston, another guy, a left-handed hurler that gives up a lot of hard contact, gives up the most hard contact on the slate with a 41% hard contact rate, with a 470 slugging it up to righties, 42.9% hard contact rate, 43.4% fly ball rate. So the Astros righties are certainly going to be in play with lots of power in Arizona tonight. Jeremy Pena, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman are the top two, elite bats. Uliski Gurriel, don't leave him off. Diaz, don't leave him off. McCormick, don't leave him off. Martin Maldonado, don't leave him off. The bottom of the lineup does break lefties pretty well, so wouldn't mind going there. And then Chris Archer gives up a lot of hard contact. He's taking on an LA Dodgers team tonight, which is a really tough matchup, so he's someone that I would be willing to target with the opposing bats. The only problem is the hitting weather looks really, really bad here. 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing in, 51 degrees. Like, that's really ugly. Even though the Dodgers are really talented, especially if they're going to garner ownership, like, I'll just fade them. Even if they're able to put up a lot of runs, I don't see a lot of them leaving the ballpark, most likely. And, that's kind of what we need to win tournaments. So the Dodgers are probably a fade for me, just based on the weather. Like, they might hit a few up and there in the wind, and they just get knocked down, and then the outfielders get to them. So, LA Angels taking on Jesus Luzardo. Pretty easy. Once again, another left-handed hurler that gives up a lot of hard contact and fly balls and slugging to right-handed hitting. So we want to target the right-handed hitters for the LA Angels. Really quite that simple. And they have a guy named Mike Trout that's pretty good. Anthony Rendon, Matt Duffy, Joe Adell, Max Stassi, David Fletcher. Those are all the guys you want to target. Shohei Ohtani, lefty on lefty. There are 19-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right. And Shohei Ohtani is a very talented hitter, even though Luzardo's good against those lefties. If they're able to get Luzardo out of the game early, get to that bullpen, putting those lefties in your stack isn't going to hurt your feelings. Corbin against Atlanta, once again, power righties, another lefty that gives up a lot of hard contact to those right-handed hitters, so that's where you're looking to target. when it comes to Corbin. So same thing as last night that we were targeting with the Braves. Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley's, Ozuna, Duvall, Travis d'Arnaud, Dansby Swanson, Orlando Arcia. All going to be viable candidates. Patrick Sandoval, I talked about liking to pitch him. I don't really want to target him too much. Alex Cobb's really good at keeping the ball on the ground. Nestor Cortez, I do think is someone we could target with the Toronto Blue Jays stack. Like we talked about, his ground ball, fly ball stuff's really not the greatest. Worse on the slate. He gives up a 433 slugging to righties, a 528 slugging to lefties. Did look a lot better last year, but I mean, these underlying numbers are a little bit scary when you're taking on a Toronto Blue Jays team that's as talented as they are in Yankee Stadium. 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Teoscar, Lourdes Gurriel, Matt Chapman. All those guys really good against left-handed pitching. So they look like a pretty good stack, and that's pretty much what we're looking to go to for the most part with our hitters. Andrew Heaney, the power righties for Minnesota, but like I said, that hitting weather is just so bad. Like, I'm probably not going to want to go there from first look. Does not look like a good place to be going. And then Luis Garcia taking on Arizona. I do think you could stack up all those lefties against him in Arizona, maybe as a lone stack that people are scared to go to. And I do like targeting the short right field porch in Arizona. They don't have the strongest of lineup. There's a lot of ugly names, but maybe a lone stack that you can be stacking in your tournaments. And like I said, right field does play very friendly to those left-handed hitters here. So, I don't think I hate it. Obviously, I'll have more of an idea once I dig into the pitch data and everything throughout the day, get a dialed into the slate. But I think like Dalton Varsho, Ketel Marte, David Peralta, Pavin Smith, Seth Beer, maybe an interesting stack. There's a lot of guys at the bottom of the order. I couldn't even tell you what their statistics are or what they featured. I'm going to have to do some digging in. And then, once we get through a few weeks in the season, I'll have all these hitters in their statistics and stuff memorized in my head like the back of my hand. Pretty good at picking up that stuff pretty quick, but that is all from me, guys. Before I let you guys go, I gotta give you my homework call of the day. Of course, as always, if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. You can check out the premium content packages, patreon.com/KJK_DFS. Get access to my DraftKings FanDuel MLB, my Prize Picks MLB, NBA Prize Picks, DraftKings FanDuel NBA. If you want to hop in there for the playoffs, I do offer playoffs, projections, picks, all that stuff. So. Without further ado, before I let you guys go, gotta give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Paul Goldschmidt taking on Daniel Lynch. We mentioned his hard contact issues against right-handed hitting, really bad across the board. A 500 slugging, given up with a 38.7% hard contact rate, 39.7% fly ball rate, and only a 17.8% strikeout rate. When we break down what he goes to, is reliant on the fastball slider changeup combination. On average, you're looking at a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Paul Goldschmidt features an 800 ISO with a 70% hard contact rate with a 688 WOBA against that pitch. When he breaks out the slider against those lefties, Goldschmidt crushes that as well. A 417 ISO with a 456 WOBA. And lastly, the changeup, Goldschmidt matches a 261 ISO with a 493 WOBA. Not to mention, does look like we have a pretty hefty wind blowing out to left field tonight in St. Louis. 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left field, 76 degrees. Pretty good hitting weather for this time of year. Really good hitting weather compared to some places on the East Coast. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there we go, guys. Paul Goldschmidt. Get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. Check out the premium content packages and sign up for Prize Picks, the sponsor of the program. As always, use that promo code KJK DFS to receive an instant match deposit up to $100 today. Again, that is code KJK DFS. Wishing you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.